Alright, today we got a little bit different project going on. I'm going to be doing some painting of mostly firearm parts. So I've done this, I've done several of these projects in the past. I never videoed any of them. This is my first shot at doing that. So first off, I just want to kind of go over the setup. So I'm going to be using Duracoat, not Cerakote. I've worked with Duracoat a lot. I like it. It's super easy to work with. It's really durable, as the name might imply. And they got good colors, and their tactical line is like extra flat, so like not shiny, which is great for hunting rifles, especially coyote rifles. So Duracoat is a two-part epoxy. So there you got the paint part, and you got a hardener. My bottles of hardener here, this is how I store them. Sealed up and vacuum sealed, and I store them in the fridge. There's different people will tell you different things about how long this hardener will last. Um, in my experience, when you store it like this, it'll last years. So those you just mix together, and when you buy any of it, it comes with instructions. You mix it usually 12 to 1, 12 parts 12 parts paint to 1 part hardener. You can mix it a little stronger than that, put more hardener in it. I think the more hardener you put in, the more durable it will be, but it also comes out shinier. So there's kind of trade-off there depending on what you're going for. And what I use, we'll go over that first. I got a whole thing here. This is just a, I don't know, cheap airbrush kit that I bought years ago. It's not super fancy, but it works really well. I use these little bottles to mix. I think they'll hold about 2 tablespoons. So I'll usually do 2 tablespoons of paint to half a teaspoon of hardener. That gives me the 12 to 1. The lacquer thinner is good for cleanup. And what else I got here? Of course, you got to run it with an air compressor. I usually run it about 20 to 25 psi. That seems to work pretty good. And let's talk about preparation. So as you can see, I got a bunch of different parts here. Basically doing an entire rifle. This is an AR10. So I got the lower receiver and the upper receiver, and I got a handguard, a barrel, I got some stock pieces, I got a suppressor that I'm doing, gas block, magazines, charging handle, scope mount, doing a bunch of different things. And as with any painting project, the most important part is preparation. If you don't spend your time on the preparation, your finish is probably not going to hold up either. So I spent a lot of time on that, and the biggest thing is just getting it clean. You know, especially with this rifle has been used for years, so it's pretty dirty. So you got to get it clean, or at least the surfaces that you're going to be painting. You know, mostly I'm going to be painting the outside. I don't really care much about what goes on the inside, because I'm not really going to be painting that. But a couple things that I use here, of course, you see the blue painter's tape. I use a lot of that. Works great. For little holes and stuff like this, I use just your common Play-Doh. It works really well. But the first thing that I do to clean it is I use a lot of brake cleaner. First, just spray the whole thing off, usually holding it over a garbage can. Spray the whole thing off, and then I'll use my blue shop towels, the cloth shop towels, or sorry, paper shop towels. I have cloth ones too here. I use some of those, but I use that with the brake cleaner to, you know, kind of further scrub down any parts that are really dirty. And then we got to rough the surface up. So what I use, and there's, I mean, you can use various grits of sandpaper if you wanted to, or steel wool. There's a number of things you use. I use these Scotch-Brite pads. So like your standard green ones are a little bit smoother. This one's a little bit rougher. I usually start with this and then go behind it with this. And that's just to rough it up. If we look really close, you can see that I've roughed up the finish quite a bit. I guess you can't really see what it looked like previously, but there we go. It looks kind of scratchy, but that'll all cover just fine with the Duracoat and it'll look great. And then I'll use an air hose to blow it all off, because you don't want the dust and whatever else sitting on there. And when I do the I still got to clean this up a little bit, because when I do the Play-Doh later, it can leave kind of a greasy film around where you were pressing it in there. So I'll take the brake cleaner to that again and make sure that there's nothing greasy there. And on that note, always gloves. It keeps your greasy, oily fingerprints off of everything. So that's the biggest part, is just getting everything clean and dust free, and taping everything off. You see with the scope here, I hate doing scopes because it's kind of tedious, and just deciding what to tape off and what not to is can be tough. But of course, we always cover the lens is really good. And in this case, I decided to tape off the entire turret because there's all these markings on the turret that you got to still read. The magnification range, I decided to tape that off too. We'll see how that looks. I don't know. I might just spray over that. You can see this is a little dusty too. All this stuff has to be blown off again because I've been messing around in here. Let's see. Magazines are really easy to do. I don't paint the whole thing because the top part is just going to get beat up anyway. And when you have it in the gun, up into the magazine well, you can't tell that this part is still black anyway. So I usually just leave that. And then of course, when you're painting it, what I do, I'll see if I can, might have to take the camera off of here. Yep. Free-handed here. So I got this whole place plasticed off. So I'm going to be spraying in here. And I have a number of metal coat hangers that I've straightened out. And then what I'll do is, usually for thing like a handguard or barrel or something, I'll actually just hang it from that and I'll spray it as it's hanging. And then it dries there too. Some of these other things, like the magazines, you can just kind of set upside down. Some of these things you got to get a little bit inventive of how exactly you're going to hang it without, getting the part you just painted to keeping that away from touching anything. And another important piece here is my exhaust fan. So while I'm painting, I have that fan blowing out the window. And then I'm also wearing this mask the entire time. And I think that's about it. I'm going to get this set up a little bit more, get things hung up on my hangers, get everything situated, and again I'm going to blow everything off again, make sure it's dust free before I start painting. So we'll take a look at what that looks like in just a bit. Okay, pretty much ready to go here. Got everything hung up. Sometimes you got to get a little bit creative with the way you're hanging things up so that the painted surface isn't going to touch anything at rest. Everything else I got hanging from these metal clothes hangers. And then I have just a sheet of paper there that I use to kind of test my my spray pattern. Test that a little bit before you start spraying anything. And got my airbrush ready to go. You can see that It's set at about 20-ish pounds. We'll see how that goes. I might increase or decrease it a little bit depending on how it goes. And then over here I got my stuff mixed up, and it was exactly 2 tablespoons that'll fit in one of these little bottles. So I do 2 tablespoons of the paint, and then a half a teaspoon of the hardener, and I mix it up. I got a little ball in there that helps me mix it. That actually just came out of one of these bottles. It's like a little glass ball. So that's all ready to go. I'm probably not going to show a whole lot of the painting just because I don't have anyone to film it, and it's a little bit hard to film and paint, and especially hard to narrate anything because I'll have that big mask on. But we'll do a little painting here and see how it goes.